Cybercon 3 is a virtual reality mind bender. It's Amigos, episode 307. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Cybercon 3. Cybercon 3 is a virtual reality experience, Aaron. It told me so on the box.
Yes.
What was your first virtual reality experience?
You know, it's a good question, Bo. I'm going to really think about that for a minute. What is virtual reality? And here's my definition. You have some sort of gimmick on your head, and you see, like, in 3D. That's that's the basic definition.
Okay, so by that definition, something like Captain EO would be virtual reality.
Well, you don't I guess you're right. And I did see Captain EO, by the way. And I guess we're not going to count the 3D movies because I remember seeing Loch Ness Monster. Or no, that's not true. A Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's what it was.
Because I mean, by that definition, you strap something to your head and you see things in 3D.
Yeah, but in terms of gaming. It seems like there was an old, like a Tommy Electronics game, a handheld game. In my head, I can remember it. You put it up to your head like this, and it's LCD, but it's there's depth to it. So I remember sort of counting that. I don't remember what it's called. Maybe somebody in the chat room can remember. And then, but in terms of actual video game, I do remember, I don't know, I'm trying to think when the Virtual Boy came out. That would
1997.
Yeah, that would be pretty early in. I know there were some arcade games, like there was like an arcade game called Beachhead, ironically, that had you put a kind of looking like a visor type thing. I mean, technically, if you want to get real.
Something like, Operation Wolf or something like that, would that be virtual reality?
Well, this game... I was thinking more like Battle Zone.
That have the things you peer into.
Yeah, Battle Zone is one that came to mind.
Battle Zone.
But I mean, again, we're getting cute with the definition. Games that let you look around like this, and it would actually follow your head. That's more like real virtual reality. And it was, I know when I got the gimmick for my phone, that was probably the first time I really experienced the virtual reality, the thing that you could put your phone in. So it wasn't that long ago. There have been little wacky virtual reality-esque gimmicks, but I would say that was the first one. And my brother ended up getting the full-on virtual reality thing, and I tried that too. So what about you?
It was definitely the Virtual Boy. We didn't live in a location, at least as far as I'm aware, where they set up these virtual reality zones at malls or whatever, where they had the thing that you could pay $10 and get 10 minutes of virtual reality time. And so my first experience with virtual reality was not very impressive. It was.
No one's was.
I remember it clearly. It was my best friend growing up. Her name was Amber, and she lived 2 houses down from me. And I think her little brother got one. And I just saw the thing on the stand, and the stand was sitting on the floor. And I was like, well, how do you play with this thing? And she's like, well, you got to lay down on the floor. And I was like, oh, okay. So I lay down on the floor commando style, put my head up to this thing. And I was like, I can't believe that this is a thing that Nintendo has put out. Even at my young age, I just could not believe that this was a product that escaped, people saying, maybe we should just can this whole thing right now.
Yeah, the commercials for the Virtual Boy, I remember seeing them well before I'd get to look at one. And I was just surprised. I was like, wow, monochrome. That's keep in mind, 97, I was still... I graduated. I was a man at that point. So I wasn't like a child like you were. I'd sit down. I was like looking at this from a business perspective. I'm like, man, I'm surprised the Big N is putting this thing out monochrome. And then I thought to myself, okay, it must be part of the way it works. Okay, which it is.
Well, it was just so weird because up till that point, it was like the film Magical Mystery Tour. It was like the Beatles could do no wrong, and then all of a sudden there it was, a big old dud.
Well, the virtual reality, the Virtual Boy gets it deserves a bad rap, okay? But it was Nintendo being Nintendo. They were way outside the box, and that way outside the box. I mean, no one's ever tried anything like it. And when it works, it actually is pretty cool, I think. I've played with the real one, and then me and Brent have covered a couple set rounds of games on it. And some of the games most of the games are crap, okay? But some of them, you could see the potential that was
Sure.
there for the machine. And you got to think they're all first generation games. They never got around to a next generation of games.
Yeah.
And so I think that there could have been a game there. Now, the stuff with the stand, that was, I mean, they would have had to revise that thing to make it lighter, to make it where you don't have to have the stand. That was always awkward, weird, sitting at a desk with that, you looking like a geek. It also gave people headaches. I don't think there's any way to get around that because the 3D
Headache,
the same
neck
thing.
strain, pretty much you're contorting your body in ways that it should not be contorted whenever
but I mean,
you use that thing.
I think as much as everybody rags on Nintendo for that, I think you got to give Nintendo credit. I think that establishes the point that they will try just about anything. And they ended up, they went to the money bank with the Wii, and now they're going to the Super Vault with the Switch. And these are both avant-garde, off the beaten path ways to get there. A lot of people thought the Switch was going to die a death, and no one gave the Wii a chance. And they made boatloads of cash. So they know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I've been back to the VR well several times since then. I bought an Oculus Rift when it came out, shortly after it came out. And I had that for a while, and then I sold it because I wasn't using it. And then I bought the Oculus Quest 2.
Yes.
And I've had that for. And here's the thing. This is what I've discovered about myself.
All right.
Okay. I'm an idiot.
I can't wait to hear this. I'm dying here.
No, when I play video games, I like to situate myself in the most comfortable position possible. I like to put myself in the recliner and lay there like a blob and be as immobile as possible when I play video games. It should be a relaxing experience, okay? When I want to get up and move around, I'll go to actual reality outside. I'll walk around my neighborhood. I'll go play golf. The mixing of the two just is not doing it for me, where I'm doing physical things, I'm moving my hands around in space, but it's still like a really artificial experience with a really major uncanny valley in front of it. I still get nauseous. I still don't feel well after about a half hour in VR. And people say, well, you can train yourself to not be sick. But here's the thing, man. I'm playing a freaking video game. I want to train myself to do anything. I want to sit there like a lump and move my hands and make cool stuff appear on the screen and make me feel awesome about myself. Yeah. Because I play video games to experience a power fantasy where I'm a bad AMFer.
Wow. My problem with VR is, I think you nailed some of it, but like when you want to sit down and play, like if I got 5 minutes, I'll sit down, I'll whip the phone out and play that stupid football game that I've got on there, or I'll sit down at the computer and I'll play a couple rounds of Punch Out or whatever, and bam, you're out, all right? For VR, you've got to like set a schedule. You got to make sure no one's going to come in on you while you've got all this crap set up. You've got to make sure that you've got all the room cleared. Then you got to hook it all up. It never works right immediately. You got to tweak crap, and ultimately, it's so much effort that you're like, what the heck am I doing this for? It's just
it is sad. VR, like so many other things in life, I love the idea of VR.
Yeah.
It's just not. As much as I hate to admit it, it's not really my bag. Now, I'm going to keep it around. I'm not going to sell this thing.
That's
like
what I was
going to
ask you.
Things.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it around because I'm sure once winter comes around and I feel like being active, maybe I'll fire up Beat Saber or Fruit Ninja or something. But I'm just not going to get involved in one of these long, full game length experiences. It's just, I don't think that it's in me.
If they, and they may do this, if they finally tuned VR to where it's just like you take like a banana clip style set of goggles, let's go, and then you're in. That's it. There's no wiring and hooking up and starting the computer and logging into Facebook, all the crap. You're just in. Like you're in.
Yeah. The Quest 2 is pretty close. I mean, you put it on your head and you're in. It's inside outside tracking. There's no additional baloney that you have to do. But at the end of the day, you're still doing the same stuff. And a big part of it for me, like you said, is that like you have to make sure, like, and I'll freak myself out. Like, I don't want to play it while Eep's around because she'll just sit in the corner and laugh at me hysterically.
Because you look like
but when she's not home and I've got the things on, I'm afraid that like somebody's going to break into my house and attack me or something. I have all these weird things that go through my head. I start to feel afraid when I play VR games because I can't see the world around me. So
I think that's a
Listen,
boat
man,
problem right
it
there. I
is a
don't know
boat
what
problem. It's a big boat
Yeah,
problem.
you had me till that last part.
I was playing. Have you ever played The Room before?
I've seen The Room.
This is
You're
not based on the
tearing
film.
me apart, Lisa.
The Room is it started out as a phone game, and it's sort of a creepy game where you solve simple puzzles. It's not really scary, but it's atmospherically creepy. And I was playing that, and I was freaking myself out down here in the basement because I was afraid that somebody was going to sneak up on me and tap me on the shoulder.
Yeah, you are
What
a
do you
big
think
old
about that?
candy, though, Bode, in all
Yeah,
honesty.
I am.
You got
I am.
scared from my old radio show a couple weeks ago.
I did. That was terrifying.
I got nothing else to say. Move along.
Let's talk about this week's Amiga news, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
Amiga News.
Aaron, our good buddy Tinmark is at it again. He's upgrading his Amiga 4000, Aaron. Get this. One Amiga operating system is not enough. He's upgrading it. This is going to be a hybrid 3.1. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's taking a hybrid system and upgrading it to 3.2.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get through that sentence without screwing it up.
That's
So I
because
know
it's too
that I'm going to be able
complex
to
for you.
understand this video.
Yeah. I actually watched this. Of course, I always watch Doug's stuff, and it's Doug. One thing about Doug, he's got to have the latest and the greatest, and so you knew he was going to install this thing. So he gives you a quick tour of the 4000. He digs in there and installs it. Shows you shows you how he does it. He also does it. I will say this was really neat. I didn't know you could do this. He's got a gimmick set up that hooks his Amiga up to Dropbox, so he transfers over files from Dropbox. That's pretty cool, and I'm going to give you that. And he shows you where to get that. I mean, that is a heck of a wacky gimmick there. Maybe other people knew about that, but I had never heard of it. And anyway, Doug puts all the stuff in. I mean, it does exactly what he says. He fully installs the new workbench, and then lo and behold, he kicks the tires on it. So good video. Doug, of course, holds your hand most of the way so you know what's going on. I enjoyed it. Doug is playing the realm of high-end Amigas, the realm we shall not see, but it looks like fun for him.
Now, I should have saved this story for last, but we're going with it right in the heart of the Amiga news section. It's in a day which will live forever. To July 2nd, 2021, we will always remember as the day that Lionheart got a PC remake, Aaron.
Yes. The PC finally hit the pay window, Boat, with this Lionheart. And by the way, if you go to the Lionheart remake web page that's linked off of Indie Retro News, you could partake in the finest. There's a Lionheart highlight video on here that I literally shed a tear when I saw this thing.
I did watch that, and it was spectacular.
It was glorious.
Very well done.
It's funny. I had a fight with my brother like it was like last week. We always have fights, so it's hard to differentiate. But we were talking about Amiga platformers, and he was saying Premiere was the finest platformer he'd ever seen on the Amiga, and I said, "Oh no, I don't think so. It's Lionheart." And much like yourself, showing his true idiocy, he badmouthed the game, and so I will direct him to this video, which shows you the incredible lengths and depth of Lionheart as a platform. It's a top shelf game, Bode. And now, amazingly, all the goofs that have PCs can experience the joy and rapture that is Lionheart. Someone has actually taken it upon themselves to port this thing over. Now, here's the caveat, Boatster, and I haven't looked at this yet. There's a big reason why. And the big reason why is right here. It requires Java 8. So this is Java'd up. Odd. I'm assuming this has been in the works for a while. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, it uses something called the Lion Engine.
Yeah.
Which
I want that for my car.
Based on that.
Yeah. It required. This amused me, Bode. It requires 32 megs of memory in your PC and at least 6 megs of free space in the hard drive.
High-end machines required. This is the same as Windows 11, Aaron. It's the same thing all over again.
Yeah, there's bullet points here of all the stuff that's in Lionheart. We know about this stuff already. We're in the Amiga community. We know about it. But it did have something here that was intriguing. Level editor, Bode.
Yeah.
Now, I like the idea that some high-end dude is going to lay down some new levels for Lionheart. There's probably, I mean, if the level editor's got any sort of jack, this would be an interesting addition to the Lionheart. You can make like a whole second game of Lionheart, you know? It'd be interesting. I don't know what you can do with it. I have not looked at it.
What I'm foreseeing is that people are going to go all Mario Maker with this thing, and there's going to be tons of people out there making all of their own custom Lionheart levels. Maybe we could even make that a special segment on a future Amigathon or something, where we check out some of these, homemade Lionheart levels. That'd be really cool.
I will do anything it takes to glorify Lionheart, and if it devotes a volume of shows, I'd be okay with it. But anyway, this is a glorious day. If you're a PC owner, you poor sad sucker, you've never got to experience Lionheart. Now's the chance. This is the premier Amiga game. I said it, and I'll continue to say it. Hank Nyborg, artistic genius, Boat. He didn't accept my Discord friend request, but I still like him, Boat, because all I was going to do was just fanboy him anyway, so he probably knew that.
Yeah.
Look at this, by the way. 2.5D scrolling with 96 parallel lines. Parallax lines. 96
Parallax lines. It's not your normal lines.
No, Boat, no. So anyway, this is big news, everybody. So go run out. Well, most of you guys have Amigas, so don't run out and get this. Just point and laugh at the people that don't have Amigas, but then sympathize with them because now they get to play the game. There you go, Boat.
All right, our next news story comes to us from one of our favorite YouTubers and site admins out there, Amiga Love.
Yeah.
All the way from Seattle.
Yeah.
He's introducing a new piece of software called Disk Mimic for Amiga OS 1.3. Now, Amiga Love's a man after my own heart. As you can see behind me, I've got the Amiga 1000 here with the recently repaired monitor. You did a wonderful job when you got there deep into the weeds at the last Hayes Valley Classic Computer Club meeting, and you managed to save my monitor from certain doom. So I have been using the 1000 more lately, and this thing is just for OS 1.3. So this is something that allows you to insert and eject ADF files to run software right off your desktop. With OS 2.0, 3.1, you can do that, but 1.3 never got this functionality until now.
Yeah. You got to give the fella credit. This is brand new, hot off the press, this piece of software. It does require you to have some sort of hard disk, and it requires a certain amount of space. And then there are certain files, libraries you have to install and whatnot. But once you've got, it's not like gonna kill you. Once you lay this thing in, though, you're good to go. I will say this is a nice little bit of functionality for 1.3, and I like it, man. It's cool. It's nice, and as Love mentioned, and you mentioned as well, 1.3 can do a lot of stuff. It's just they don't want to ever do anything to make it do it. And so someone said, "Oh yeah," and he did it. So I love it. Good stuff. I will say the thumbnail for this video is as creepy a thumbnail as you'll ever see. I don't know if you looked at it.
It looks like what's the guy from the pinball machine, the Funhouse pinball machine? What's his name?
I don't remember his name now. Think about it, but yeah, that little freak.
Yeah,
it reminded me of the recent film The Joker. He almost looks like that guy. He's just like bleh.
Okay.
So yeah, it's creepy, man. But yeah, good
Scary,
for you.
yeah.
Good for Love, and good for the fella that put this thing down. I'm very impressed.
All right, Aaron. This next one, my Commodore Amiga 1200 recap and repair. This comes to us from a YouTuber called Gadget UK 164, who I'm not familiar with. Aaron, you told me about this video. What's going on here, man?
Well, I just I will say Gadge here. He's a big player. I mean, he's got a lot of subscribers. I just saw this pop up. Listen, if you do any recapping work, it can be real tricky business, man. And so anytime I see someone that's kind of showing their technique, I like to show it. I mean, we've seen the Huck. Huck did a real popular recapping video, and we've seen a lot of these. And so this guy kind of gives you the scoop on how to remove a lot of these caps and how he goes about marking them to make sure that he remember to get the right one. And he goes through the whole rigmarole. He recaps the whole system. He actually had a problem with it, and he ends up finding out the problem. It was a color-related problem that was fixed with the recapping. So just an interesting video. I thought I would mention it. I don't think we ever talked about Gadget UK 164 before, but I looked over his channel There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, Boat. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's the retro gaming repair and mod guy. So guess what's in there? A lot of retro gaming repairs and mods,
It makes
including
sense.
arcade stuff. So and a lot of different stuff, everything from the arcade to the Amstrad, all the way down the spectrum. So check him out. I think he's got. I think he's a pretty good quality player there, Boat. I endorse it.
Yeah, man, sounds good. All right, and finally, Aaron, speaking of the Huck, we have a new video from the one and only Gary Hucker over on his retrospective channel. This is not Amiga related, but it is pretty cool. Tell us about it, Aaron.
You know, for those, Huck's been sort of out of the picture for a while. I've talked to Huck on and off for the past couple of years, Gary, and Gary has been working on his other business. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about his other business isn't like sewing machines.
Yeah, he runs a sewing machine business down in New Zealand.
He was killing it over the pandemic.
Oh, I bet.
But
my mom is a big sewer, and she was telling me that sewing machine, because she's involved in the scene, as it were. And she says that these places, they can't keep stock. They just sell out immediately. So the pandemic was good to the sewing industry for sure.
And so anyway, Gary has as I recall, he came into like a bunch of Amigas, and so he wrote. If you go back through our archives, Gary has a bunch of Amiga videos and some real wacky ones too. Stuff blowing up, stuff not working because of weird grounding issues, real wacky stuff. And some of our most popular videos that Gary did. But Gary's sort of creeping back in the scene. He linked me up to this so I could check it out because he knows I'm a big fan of the System 80. The System 80 is sort of the
Super 80.
Yeah, it's sort of the equivalent of the TRS-80 Model 1 or 3 down in Australia, New Zealand, that area, sold at the Dick Smith stores. And this is just an interesting video where Gary tools around on it and tries to repair his tape drive. And this is entertaining, but I urge you to check out all of his stuff because he's got plenty of other content in there that's Amiga related and whatnot. And Gary's going to start kicking it in. And he's got a real laid-back way of doing stuff, down to earth. And he's very talented tech as well. So give Gary a look. I want to give him a big thumbs up because I'm a big fan of the Huck. Huck's always been good to us over the years too, Bo. In fact, I believe Huck the first. He was the fellow that gave us that ZX Sinclair Spectrum.
That's right. He sent us that 48K
and
ZX
a 600,
Spectrum.
I believe, as well. So
and the Amiga 600 that's right behind me. So he's the man.
So we love Gary. So Gary, keep going, buddy. I'm glad to have you back and making videos, my friend.
All right. Our final story this week comes to us, Aaron, from RetroRewind.ca.
Oh, yes.
And I'm choosing this one because, I was hanging out with Amiga Bill last night.
I heard about
at
that.
At the Westchester Amiga user group online through Zoom. And people were talking about their favorite places to buy Amiga stuff for. And so people were naming, all the different stores out there. And I said, well, have you guys heard of Retro Rewind? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, let me tell you about Retro Rewind. All of a sudden, the switchboard lit up. People were buying stuff left and right. And one of the things that one of the guys in the group said that he bought was one of these things. This is a C64 and C128 diag harness. So this is a thing that you can use to test your C64 or C128 to determine where the problems are. It consists of a user port module, a cassette port module, a serial loopback. You got 2 controller port connectors. You've got everything that you need to diagnose what's been going on with your computer.
Yeah.
This thing is a must-have if you are a repair person of the C64. And as we all know, Commodore's early machines sometimes need a couple tweaks to get them working right, as John Marshall demonstrates at every computer club meeting.
I was just thinking we should buy one of these for John, because how many times have we pried chips back and forth out of machines trying to build a working C64?
Absolutely. He's like, well, let's rip the SID out of this one. And so, so anyway, this is available right now from Retro Rewind for the cost of 75 buckaroos.
Yeah.
But you can save 10% right now off this or any order by using the promo code Amigos10 at checkout.
Yeah.
And of course, we do appreciate Retro Rewind and thank them for being a sponsor of Amigos.
Yes, sir. And this does look like a very comprehensive diagnostic outfit, Boat. I can see where this would be very handy. Thank you very much, and thanks to Frank over at Retro Rewind, Boat.
Now, we've got one more little bit of news that I didn't link to, Aaron. Amigathon is 3 short weeks away.
Holy
Can you
smokes,
believe it?
Boat, are you
Can
kidding
you believe
me?
it?
I can believe it, man.
So, guys, this is going to be a scene that you're not going to want to miss. Amigathon, of course, is our yearly charity fundraiser benefiting Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And this year, it's going to be our biggest event ever. We've got a wide cast of characters, including Amiga Bill, Ravi and Dan. We've got Control Alt Reese, Ash Said Hi, Kim Justice, and many, many more. They're all going to be joining us. And Aaron, we're going to be having some awesome exclusive giveaways. And I wanted to share one set of giveaways that I just found out about yesterday. Pixels at Dawn tuned in and he said that him and Jonah, aka Simulant, the publisher of Amiga Addict, are going to give away, Aaron, get this, 2 Amiga Addict mugs and 3 Amiga Addict gift certificates.
Oh.
So, and this is international shipping is covered with all this stuff. So you'll be able to get a mug. You can win a Amiga Addict gift certificate that you can use towards a magazine. You can get your own copy, or if you're already a subscriber, boom, get the mug. So either way, you're a winner. We'll probably end up having a special stream after Amigathon where we do the drawings and give away all the prizes, because we have so many that we want to make sure and get everybody that donates involved in that. So if you're able to support Amigathon, I think the minimum donation is probably going to be around $10 to get involved in this drawing. You will be automatically entered, and you'll have a chance to win this. We're also giving away one of the I can't think of what it's called, but there's this guy that does a bunch of these little dioramas. We're going to be giving away some of those. So lots of surprises, lots of cool stuff. So make sure on July 24th you check us out starting at 10 a.m. UTC. We'll be playing games for 12 hours and then turn it over to a team of streamers who's going to take the next 12 hours, 24 hours of Amigathon 2021, Aaron.
We got a real, I want to pitch in for the guest streamers that are coming in to pick up the second 12 hours, Boat. We've already got signed on our good buddy, our almost our inspiration, Jack Flack, will be taking a round of streaming on the streaming section of the event, the second 12 hours. We've also signed on, and I've been watching him, Bo. He's been doing some practice streams for the last week or so. Dave Z, our own Dave Z from Wild Wild World of Retro, he's going to be taking his turn at fundraising. We've also got from Coco Talk, the original gamer, Steven Stroh. He's going to be taking the last slot that we have, and then just signed on another top shelf streamer, Boat, Mr. Cola, has decided that he's going to throw his hat in the ring too. We love Mr. Cola. He's awesome. So I'm excited. I'm more excited than I've ever been for Amigathon, Boat, because you're right. We're going to have a packed 12-hour show where me and you are going to be playing some games, and we're going to be mingling with the big-time players, raising money for the Children's Miracle Network. And then the next 12 hours, you're going to get a whole different flavor. And I mean multiple flavors, all the flavors. It's like Baskin Robbins, Boat. 30 wonderful flavors. And it should be a good time. Remember, every cent you donate goes directly to the Children's Miracle Network, and help those kids out. Give a few bucks, or at the bare minimum, just show up, show some support, and have a good time.
Absolutely. All right, Aaron, it's time. It's time to talk about Cybercon 3.
Oh, man, Boat. Boy, I'm excited about this one, Boat.
You know, Aaron, in a world gone mad, this is the greatest madness of all. One man against the ultimate defense system ever devised.
Yeah.
One man against legions of robots capable of destroying whole cities. One man against the Cybercon.
You know, I love that, Boat. It was just like a film, a very technical film. And so we're going to... With that brilliant introduction, I'd rather just sit and listen to you talk like that for another 10 minutes. But let's go ahead and talk about the game. Cybercon 3, Boat. I know, much like myself, you'd never heard of this sucker. No. And I hadn't either. Released it amazingly in 1991, Boat. And was published by U.S. Gold and put together by a little team called the Assembly Line, Boat. The Assembly Line had really they did a few games, and we actually have covered, as far as I know, I only remember us covering one of their games, maybe one and a half. They did Pipe Dreams. Remember that one?
Right.
You were a big fan of that. They did a game called...
And they didn't really do it. They did the port.
Right.
The Amiga port.
Exactly. And that's where I was getting at. They did a game called E-Motion. They did a game called Exterminator. And they did this game that has 3 names. Some people call it Game of Harmony. Some people call it Interface. Some people call it Vaccine. And then lastly, they did the coding for Xenon 2. I believe they may have coded the CDTV version, because we know it was designed by the Bitmap brothers. But they were in on that. But this is their baby, Boat. And I will say, if you were going to dump everything you had into one game, this is the game, because this was one big dump of stuff into this game. Now, you sort of went into a little flavor text. I'm just going to touch on, I've got some of the bullet points here in the back of the box, all right? And I will say, I want to preface this by saying 2 things. One, this game is really complex, and so it was a very challenging game to look at. And 2, the backstory in this was unbelievably complicated and long. It's in the manual. I don't know if you read it, Boat, but
I'll tell you when I stopped reading it. There's this preface to the backstory,
yes.
And the backstory says, beware, this backstory may or may not have anything to do with the game, and some of this material may actually not help you with the game at all. And I was like, I'm out of here. Yes. Screw this.
You know it's bad when they're screwing with you on the flavor text.
Right.
So the back of the box, just to summarize what's happening, and this is a good summary. You have bravely volunteered to execute Operation Nemesis, to neutralize the merciless super defense computer gone mad, Cybercon III. Equipped with your enhanced power armor, salvaged from the wreckage of Cybercon III's onslaught, you must penetrate the defense complex, protecting Cybercon III's brainstem, and deactivate it. All right, they mention Cybercon III a lot in there. He's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. You know, something else I wanted to mention on the back of the box. They go into some stuff that are in the game. They talk about 400 unique locations. I believe that. Intelligent defenses. I believe that. Sampled sound effects. There's some pretty funky sound in this. A unique picture-in-picture mode. That's true. But the one thing that really caught me, and I'm telling you, I believe this big time. Over 1/3 million lines of code compressed into this program.
Yeah,
a third
I believe that.
of a million lines. When you tout that on your box, you're proud of what you've done. That is a lot of code. I don't know how much a normal program would have, but I'm guessing it does not have 1/3 of a million lines of code. So, okay, let's sort of get into what you're doing here. This is a 3D first-person simulation. Help me out here, but what is this?
Yeah, it's a simulation, exploration,
combat,
puzzle solving game with light combat elements.
It's a lot. It's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything. There's platforming. There's shooting. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. So you basically do play. You are a guy they just refer to as the volunteer, which I actually kind of like that, Bo. It's kind of that's a neat angle. You don the power suit, and then you are infiltrating the fortress that contains Cybercon 3. And Cybercon 3, the defensive AI that you have to go in and to knock out, okay? They have gotten you in through a back door in like a maintenance area, okay? And so you go in, and that's where the game starts. You're on this, basically you start off on this long platform, and there's a door on the other side. Now, this is one of those games, Bo, sort of like a Rocket Ranger, that sort of baked in the copy protection a lot. All right, and in fact, we watched a video. God bless this video, Boat, that you found on how to play this game. And one of the sections in it is they just talk about how to use the code wheel. You know you're in trouble when the code wheel needs instructions.
Yeah, and you're going to be using that code wheel a lot.
Yeah. So the way that, can you explain to the folks how what you need to use the code wheel, because you have to use it right away.
Right. So the way that this works is that the code wheel integrates with certain doors in the in the complex. So what you have to do is when you go up to a door, you're going to see a 4-part alphanumeric code that appears on a black panel beside the door, and you have to line that up with the code wheel in order to open doors. So this isn't a game where you are just where you have to use the copy protection one time at the beginning or 10 minutes into the game or something like that. You're constantly using it. You have to use it every time you save and every time you restore. So they really got a lot of mileage out of the old code wheel.
And I will say, I played several versions of this game, and I'll get into why in a minute. And on some versions, they were hacked. Okay, and so, but even in the crack screen at the beginning, it would say, "Listen, here's what you do at the doors. You type in some crap, then you have to rapidly hit the fire button twice to get it to work." So even the cracking of this was sketchy.
Yeah. And the way that this and the heart of the way that this game works, the puzzle solving elements all come into these things called sonic keys.
Yeah.
And sonic keys are flat geometric shapes that you have to select from one of the 4,000 submenus that are present on your screen. They're right up there at the top, and about nested three levels deep. And if you think I'm lying, I'm not lying.
No.
And what you have to do is you have to input these pieces of the sonic key, and they're usually 3 or 4. I think there might be 3 of them that are long, and that's what unlocks different things. It's what makes different things happen. And you collect these sonic keys. They're both part of the copy protection system, but they're also just part of the game in general. When you are trying to discover new items and things like that, you have to it's like rolling for traps in these rooms where you have to like investigate. You have to put out a sensor to get a sonic key. Once you've collected that sonic key, you have to use it in conjunction with other things to make things happen. So sonic keys are a big part of the puzzle part of this game.
Yeah, and Boat mentioned the menus. Now listen, I first of all, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to bury this game. It's actually quite a brilliant game, but this game was way ahead of its time. And one of the detriments of the game is that it's so complex. It requires a lot of explanation and a lot of keys. To put it in perspective, one of the problems I had with this game was this game requires that your Amiga have a numeric keypad.
All Amigas did have numeric keypads.
Well, yeah,
so it's not
back in the day they did, but now they all mine doesn't. None of my keyboards here have numeric keypads, so I had to go play this on my laptop.
I don't know what you'd do with an Amiga 600 because it doesn't have
and that did happen. And there's no shortcut.
When this game was released, the 600 wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind yet. So
it really wasn't much of a thought when it was released. To be honest,
that's true.
So. Listen, I'm not going to go into an in-depth control tutorial here, but I just wanted to give you a flavor, okay? And the depth of this game is unbelievable. There are bars that control. There's one bar that just controls all the systems in your suit, right? The shield, the self-repair, the weapons levels. There's something that turns off subsystems, and you can change the amount of energy that are going to these various subsystems. You can turn them on and off, and you have to, because, for example, the shield will drain your energy a lot quicker if you leave it on. So that's something you would only activate.
There's something, and you can also adjust things so you take less damage when you fall. So you can jump higher and faster.
Right.
So you're going to need to manipulate these energy levels throughout the course of the game pretty constantly.
Yeah, and then you would access, like, for example, if you're going to use the weapons, you would key over to that area, and this is all done. I don't know why they didn't use the mouse for some of this, but I guess since you're using the joystick, they said you couldn't use the mouse too. That you have to go, once you get to if you're going to adjust your weaponry, first you have to use the arrow keys to scoot over to that section of the lower menu. Then you have to hit number 7 on the numeric keypad just to access the weapons area so you can adjust your weapons. Now, I will say the weapons in this are pretty neat. Amongst the things they've got are almost like time bombs. They've got these kind of electrical boxes. They've even got these cameras, which they talked about the picture-in-picture. You can actually drop cameras and then you can see the camera up in the upper left-hand corner like a view screen. Did you ever do that?
They've got a remote camera called a Parrot.
Yeah.
That can actually fly around.
Yeah, and I think you could actually look at multiple of these. I think you could flip through.
Yeah. So this game is a technical achievement, bar none, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. But there are. This is just the tip of the iceberg of stuff. When you encounter defenses, for example, you can blow them away, but it behooves you to just sort of wing them until they stop working, because then you can harvest their parts, and you can actually have additional elements to your suit. You can add their empty slots. You can slot different sorts of abilities in. You can also take their battery pack to kind of add it to your own. There's the maze that you're in, this complex is huge. Did you see any of the blown up maps of this? It's unbelievable.
Massive. It's
400
massive.
rooms. Enough said. Yeah. And that means elevators. That means bridges. The rooms are pretty varied, Boat. And you get they did not phone it in. I mean, some of the rooms are really tall, so you can jump up on ledges and stuff. Now, this game is unusual in the fact that it's a 3D game in this weird perspective, but there is some platform elements.
Right,
But they thought of that, and so, because, like Boat said, if you hold down F10, or you can also hold the button on your stick for a long time, it will set the gauge to tell how far you're going to jump forward, and there's a sort of a you screwed up element to it that if you make a move real quick, it'll sort of set you back down. I didn't get to try this because every time I jumped, it was just over a little thing. But I like the fact that they put that in because, as we all know, jumping in a 3D world is not the easiest. But talk to people, because you probably saw a little bit more of this than I did. Just talk about the graphics in general. They really are sort of a tour de force, aren't they, in a lot of ways?
Yeah, I mean, these are flat shaded polygons. So let's get this out of the way. That's the way that 3D is on the Amiga for the most part. You're not going to get a lot of games with textured polygons, but this game is colorful in the best. The game that it reminded me the most of is Elite 2. When you play Elite 2 and you land on a planet and it's one of these green planets and you see the space station and the mountain ranges and the greens and everything, and it's just like it's a feast for the eyes. This game is the same way. They could have easily made this all gray and black and not pretty, and instead they decided to make it super colorful. Now this is not going to be to everybody's taste. I'm sure that some people would want to have a more realistic space station. You're probably not going to see a real complex with purple floors and green walls. But to me, I liked being able to identify what room I was in by what colors they were. This is, as we've talked about many times on the show, a big problem that I have with dungeon crawlers is that every room looks the same, and I ended up getting lost and frustrated. In this game, I still ended up getting lost and frustrated, but at least I was enjoying the scenery as I was doing it.
Yeah.
So the enemies they reminded me a lot of enemies in Star Fox, because that's just sort of where I come from when it comes to games like this.
Yeah.
But they're very well, they're all different. They look really cool. They all look, like different kinds of alien craft or whatever. So I like those a lot. And the most important thing about this game is that it runs smooth as silk. Smooth as silk. It's not juddery at all. Whenever you're moving around, whenever you're rotating in the mech suit, I mean, it's smooth as glass. The enemies are coming, you're firing shots on them there. I didn't experience any slowdown there. I was amazed. I honestly did not think that the Amiga could make a game like this that ran this smoothly. I just didn't think that they could do it. This game proves that they can. It's a work of genius. Is it complicated? Yes. Is it going to take you a long time to get into? Yes. But for those of you that want a challenge and want a 3D game on the Amiga that's really going to pay off, this could be the game for you.
And I will say, I agree with everything you said. And the color, I think the color palette, I think they were very clever. And you sort of touched on this. The colors are wacky, but I think that's partially there to help you navigate. And the rooms are sort of wacky too, and I think that's part of it. And the manual says, "Listen, you go ahead and go ahead and write down a map." Basically, I mean, the manual doesn't pull any punches. It knows it's a hard game, and so they're like, "Yeah, this is could get complicated." But I agree. I don't think the thing ran super fast, but it does run smoothly.
I think it ran super fast. When you're motoring down a corridor, I mean, if it moved any faster, you wouldn't be able to control yourself.
Well, that's where I was going. This game reminds me, Bo. We reviewed Neuromancer years ago. I love that game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of that game where you're in the real world. There's part of it where you're in cyberspace. We've looked at a couple games where you end up going into cyberspace. Vampire game.
Yeah.
So this right here is what I picture cyberspace sort of looking like. It's sort of Tron-y. It's like I could see this game. Remember we read a while back how they converted an old retro game to be virtual reality? This right here would be a prime candidate for that. I could absolutely, because you can look up and down, you can slide from side to side, you can do all the stuff that you would do with a virtual reality helmet on. This would be a decent candidate to get the treatment for that, if you ask me.
Right.
I think it probably would help it, especially if you had. Listen, the everything about this game is classy and well done. But I mean, when you sign on to it, you're going to have to bring a packed lunch. This thing is super deep, and you have to really sort of master those minute elements. And I think Bo will back me up when I say we are literally giving you the bare minimum information. There's just the subsystems. We watched a video. Bo found a VHS video on YouTube that it's like I guess they released this to help people out. I don't know why.
Well, it really wasn't. This is one of these things that it's made to look old, but it's actually new.
Really?
Some guy did this and he ran. It's sort of like the Amiga show.
Well, let me tell you something. Whatever the reason was, watching this video at first I was like, oh, this is neat, but it's like watching a video on like how to beginning guide to like driving an airplane. Or like a semi truck, or like how to fix your HVAC stuff. It got complicated quick. It got so complicated that I was just sitting there drooling, scratching my head in a vain attempt to understand what I was looking at. It's just too much.
This is one time on YouTube I saw a video of a guy driving an old school 18-wheeler. This thing had like it had 3 sticks. He was moving stuff with his other hand. He was driving with his knees. If you watch a player play this game that really knows what they're doing, I bet their hands would look similar to that, because you've got to be all over the keyboard, adjusting different things, moving different systems around.
Yeah.
Is this the most complicated game we've ever covered on this show, do you think?
Well, listen, I compare every game we play to a couple games. There was that war game we played. It was called like Conflict something, so I can't remember the name of it. It was real complicated. Or a Sim Life. That's when I was really... And I actually had more luck with Sim Life. There was a while... I mean, I'm not lying when I say this, Bo, because I talked to you early in the week about this game. There was a time where I loaded this up and just sat in front of the first door, wondering what the hell I was supposed to do. I had no idea. And I had the documents plus the video. And I was slowing video down.
This game, and just like so many games from this time period, they don't hold your hand at all.
No.
And I'm the type of player that likes a little bit of hand holding, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that from this game. As long as you know that going in and you're okay with it, I think you're gonna have a fulfilling experience out of this. I think.
The funny thing is, I've got the manual here, the actual Amiga manual. Because if you look around, there's some that aren't necessarily catered to the Amiga. It's a 48-page manual. Okay, that doesn't sound like that much. It's really not, and a big chunk of it's devoted to backstory and flavor text. But this is a game, by the way, you definitely have to have the manual. But this is a game where you're going to have to... It's a lot like Elite, you mentioned. It's a game where you get to sit down and just play it and play it and play it and read the book. And then play it some more, read the book, and eventually refine your abilities. And we haven't touched on the actual rooms, what goes on in the rooms. Like Boat said, there are robots that come out. There are things that just stick at the door. There are bridges you have to unfurl across. There's places you have to jump across. There are weird shields and pillars, weird codes. Sometimes you can crack the code. Sometimes you'll gain new codes. It's a ton going on. And it was beyond my ability to play it with any great shakes, frankly. But it was an interesting treat to look at and to at least attempt. To put it in perspective, there are only a few people that have played this on YouTube at all. I mean, this is one of the least played Amiga games I've found on YouTube. I found more videos of like Top Banana than I did this. So, and this is clearly much better. So, yeah, I think this is a fun game if you're willing to devote the time to it, Boat.
Absolutely.
This also got released on the Atari ST and on the PC. I did a little comparison here between the two, and really, if you're watching at home, you'll see that the PC version runs probably faster. In fact, I'm real sure it does, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. And also, considering how DOS works, we don't know what kind of system they were recording this on, so your mileage may vary on the DOS version.
Yeah.
But the Windows or the Amiga version runs well enough to where you won't be.
Well, here's a clue. Here's a clue as to how you know what speed this game should run at. Look at the rotating lights in the upper right corner.
Yeah.
See how they're going insane in the DOS version? The game's running too fast because those lights act as your radar.
Yeah, they call it Doppler in the manual, and if you turn that system on, they will give you a hint as to where the enemy's at.
Right. So that's telling me that the DOS version is running faster than the developer intended.
There you go. And one of our listeners or our viewers in the chat just mentioned that the Amiga version reacts well to acceleration. Thank you, Aardvark, for that. So if you have an accelerated Amiga, this might be one to pick up and give a whirl. I looked at some reviews on this Boat because really this is a game that would have been enjoyed back in the day and would be best reviewed back then probably. The Lemon people, I was surprised actually. The Lemon gives us 7.71. I would have thought it would have done better, but maybe the complexity of it took it down a few notches. It did quite well with the press for the most part. Amiga Action scored this a 90. Amiga Computing gave this a 65. They weren't impressed. Amiga Format 90. Amiga Joker, one of the highest ever recorded scores, 89% over at the Joker. Amiga Power, 88. CU Amiga 91. The 178. Average magazine rating was 81%. I'd say that's probably, I mean, it's hard to grade. I'm not even sure I would even want to grade the thing given my attempts at it. But I mean, I think as a piece of programming and as the attempt, I think that's a real solid piece of work. And I'd wager if you could master the controls, you could really have a good time with this thing, Bode.
Yeah. What I'd love to see is a Steel Battalion-like controller for this game, where all of the systems are devoted to different keys, and you're working that thing like a piano. I'd love to see that.
Well, I mean, listen, that's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Get this, Bode. I did dig up a few things that were on Moby. It turns out that this game was the very first game. Oh, let me rephrase that. This game was the first to be reviewed in the legendary Amiga Power magazine.
Really?
Right outside of they had apparently a pre-magazine that came out, and of course it got an 89%. But they said strangely, the people at Moby mentioned it never made any of their annual top 100 lists. So there you go. That's kind of nutty. We didn't get any sort of action on the Discord on this, which is understandable, but given the game, I will say, I looked this up on eBay, Bode, and there's a lot of these out there, including locally. There's a guy, there's a guy in Pennsylvania selling one of these sealed, still in the plastic, $50. Not bad.
That's not bad at all.
I also saw a boxed version, and this is all in the States for $40. I saw a sealed boxed version in Germany for $118. So there's someone suspicion. And then if you just want the disc, you can get it for $10. So this is actually, I'm sorely tempted. If I didn't suck at it so horribly, I was so confused by it, I'd be sorely tempted to pay that much money for that. That seems like a pretty decent deal.
Yeah. And did you say that this thing came on one disc, Aaron? One disc. Well, that is insane.
You know why that doesn't surprise me? It doesn't surprise me because of Elite. That's exactly what it shipped on. And it's very similar graphics too.
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
There's some sort of incredible compression and the way you program it. Of course, we don't know what we're talking about, but whatever it is, you can smash a lot on the one single disc. It's amazing. This is a game, like I said, overall, I think if this looks interesting or sounds interesting, and you feel like you've got the jack, I would check this out. And you may be one of the few to really kick the tires on this and put it through its paces.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, let's leave Cybercon 3 and let's check out what's been going on over on the old YouTube channel this week.
We had a pretty big week, Boat, this time around on the old YouTube channel here. So let's start off with myself and Brent, as we often do. This time out, it was games with one-word titles. Now, we've done this on the, I think we did this one time before, but this time Brent spiced it up, and he assigned letters to me. He didn't assign himself a letter. He just picked whatever he wanted. He gave me Z. And so I thought about it. Finally, I ended up picking Zorro for your beloved Atari 8-bit, Boat.
Yeah.
Put out by the same people that made Bruce Lee. And
you know it by looking at this game.
Yeah, you sure do. It had the exact same artist that did Bruce Lee. Not the same program, but same artist. Ultimately, I found this game an interesting attempt, but I found it sort of tough to play, and it's not the best. It's not as good as Bruce Lee, but it was a much more aggressive title when it came to trying to add puzzle elements and stuff. They've added a lot to it, but it didn't play that well. Brent hated this game, buried. And so the Brent ended up picking, for his game, he ended up picking Premiere for the Amiga. So he jumped in our world on this one, but I didn't heard of this game, to be honest with you. Have you heard of it?
No. In fact, looking at it, I can't believe that it hasn't been suggested to us by the game selection committee because it looks pretty good.
Well, we've played a lot of these games, and
Is it not that good? I've not yet listened to the show.
Listen, it looks okay, and it plays. I don't want to.
Well, it plays like an Amiga platformer.
Well, it has a gimmick, and the gimmick is you can move in between planes. You know, the old Final Fantasy gimmick. Well, it's slow enough without that. I just didn't do it for you. But Brent thought it was the finest thing ever made. And then, of course, we had an incredible battle at the end of the show where he berated me. And what sucks is we had his internet gave out. No, Skype crashed. So he berated me. Skype crashed. Then we had to start over, and he berated me again. Then it screwed up again. So he berated me 3 consecutive times. I just had to sit there and take it. He was killing me in here. Anyway, if you like to see me and Brent fight, by God, this is the show for you. It was a Herculean battle here, Bode. Let's move on down the line. I guess another one from yours truly. Last week, Boat, we got in touch with a fellow who had done a new ZX Spectrum game, and the game he did was a port of Asteroids for the ZX. And so he had contacted you via email, and you sort of got me in the loop. And
That's right. Yeah.
I said, "The heck with it. Let's put this sucker on the stream." So last week's Friday night stream was me playing a bunch of ZX games, and we started the show off with this Spectrum game that he wrote, and he was in the chat and was answering questions about it. You can see if you're watching at home, it's a real solid game. It's not even quite finished
I
yet.
believe that this is going to be next month's Discord high score challenge game. For our Discord people, if you manage to make it on the top 10, then you will be featured as the default top 10 in the game when it reaches its final shipping state. So pretty cool.
Oh, that's great news, Bo. Well done.
Yeah.
I believe it's the fellow's name. I believe his code name is High Rise, but his name's Alan.
Yeah, his real name is Alan.
He's a real nice guy. He stuck around actually. He stuck around after Asteroids to make sure that I played the game he recommended. And I played a bunch of games on this show, but the one that everyone wanted me to play for some reason was this Wild West game called The Wild Bunch. I don't know if you...
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I haven't almost had a conniption fit for a while, but it almost happened at the end of this playing of The Wild Bunch. So if you want to see old Aaron almost explode, then just... flip over and watch that, because the ending of this was brutal. But that was a full ZX Spectrum stream last Friday. If you feel like checking that out, we had a good time on that boat. I think you even popped in for a little bit of that one.
I did. I was there.
Look who's back in town. It's our good buddy Jack Flack, man. Fresh off of his vacation, fresh off of swimming in his new pool. He's rested, he's ready to rock and roll, and he picks up a couple interesting ones, Boat. He plays a new game for the C64, and it's called Lady Pack. Lady Pack, guess what that is, Boat? It's a Miss Pac-Man.
Mr. Dew's Castle.
Look at that, though. It looks good.
Oh,
I watched the stream. It looked good. It played good. It's a dandy little game. Once again, the C64 is getting it done in the homebrew. I thought that was great.
I mean, that looks fantastic.
Yeah. Then, Bo, one of your perennial favorites, my friend. It was time for some hardball.
Oh.
Straight up hardball. It's Hardball 1. And I watched Flack's team struggle mightily against the All-Stars, but for ultimately, Flack gave up to show us some of his old karate videos. So if you want to see young Jack Flack do karate, this is the show for you. And I'm not lying. There it is. So we had a good time, as always. Flack show, always entertaining. So check him out. And those are a couple really interesting C64 games as well. By the way, one thing I noticed is that the C64 version of Hardball looks identical to the Amiga version. Like, I don't think there was any upgrade at all. I just poured that sucker directly over. Okay, now, here we go. I was very interested in this. The Acetronic MPU 1000 games montage with Hermsky. 1,000 games. This is a montage of a bunch of games.
Are you sure we didn't talk about this last week?
Oh, it's up. It's up. It's new. I don't know why it's here, but we did talk about it. But I'm going to talk about it
maybe there
again.
was some
Because
some weirdness.
Let me tell you something. I actually talked to Hermsky about this, about what this thing was, how this got past me. And he gave me the scoop. You know, this is just one of those crazy systems that came out, you know, right around the time that Atari 2600 did. It just went away. It's sort of like, it reminds me of something that falls somewhere between the Fairchild Channel F and the Bally Astrocade in terms of quality. But if you haven't checked this out yet, check it out. Hermsky's, and there's a bunch of wacky games in here. And by the way, there's not 1,000 games. It's the MPU 1000. So check this out if you want to learn about the old Acetronic. A very interesting, very interesting piece of kit there, Boat. Here we go. It's Frodo time. It's Frodo time, gang. And this time out, Frodo. Here we go. The first year of the Commodore Amiga, Boat. Remember when I did that little oral essay on the first year of Amiga?
I remember that. We need to bring back those segments.
What was your response to that first year lineup? It wasn't good, was it?
It wasn't exactly breathtaking.
No. But listen, it was the first year. So I see Frodo starts off strong by playing some Archon, which is a good choice. I'm assuming he's going alphabetical order. There were text adventures. There were stuff straight off the 8-bits. All your favorites. None of this stuff looks Amiga quality, but this is.
I will say that 1-on-1 does get a visual upgrade. The Amiga version, it's definitely the best looking version of the game. But of course, you got Defender of the Crown, which was the real system seller.
Yeah,
Marble Madness is on here. So Frodo hits all the high points, and then he does some more obscure stuff too.
I think I caught some of this stream because he was playing that first ever Psygnosis game that was the real bad one that's got the controls of the mouse.
That's all of them.
No, Boat of car. Don't make me come over there, Boat. Anyway. Check out Frodo. Of course, Frodo now has blue hair. So if you want to see that right there, it should be a selling point. Come see Frodo, the man with the blue hair. Always a good time. And he perhaps maybe wearing some sort of wacky suit on top of the blue hair, depending on how it goes. So, Boat, I think that's all we have lined up. What do you got on video-wise?
Well, Aaron, there was a very special edition of This Week in Retro that occurred last week. We had a guest host. Neil was indisposed.
Yeah.
And so somebody had to step in, and that somebody was you.
Yeah. I did dip my toe in the deep end here, setting in for our good buddy Neil. And you can't really take Neil's place, but I kind of kept the seat warm. I could do that. And so we talked about some stories on here, and it was fun, man. I had a good time. I appreciate you guys having me come in and set in. I don't think we completely tore down the house. I think Neil could come back and build it again. But we had a good time, and it was neat to talk about stuff that I'd never heard about, including the computer museum. That was a lot of fun. So it was a good time. If you're into This Week in Retro, you can listen to this, and hopefully your ears won't bleed. But that's my pitch.
All right. Well, as we coast towards the end of our adventure, Aaron, it's time to thank the fine folks that make Amigos happen each and every week. And we're going to start things off with our Twitch subscribers. You can subscribe to Amigos on Twitch and help support the show that way, especially if you like to watch us live. We record live every Friday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. And if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can subscribe to us for free, and it still gives us the dough. So we love that. We want to thank Macintosh Librarian, Mitsuyama, Pints and Amiga, Below Jellyfish, Eeyore4077, Daha Crabs MTG, Orom, Frodo NL, Scumboy, Uber Scuba Diver, Explorer, Christian Russell, Jigglebox, Luminate08, Peeplo, Am I Steph, Gary Heather, Smediger1, Retro Jerry, Paco Take, Jost80, Buck Owens, Hermsky, Litwarski, Dave Velociraptor, RMC Retro, Matt Dufort, Texas Footballer, ZZZ Zierfall, Daves and Donuts, RetroRewind.ca, Butterberg 3000, John Marshall 3, Chris Edwards Restoration, Exile in Paradise, Beach Bum 7, Still Adolescing, Great Al G, MC Chessers, Pixel Rageous, Wide World of Retro, Tenmark, Blue Train, Negsol, Cronusnet, Superfama King. Thank you guys so much for supporting us on Twitch.
Yes, thank you. Goodness.
Now, Aaron, before we do our Patreon song this week, I want to thank the people, or I want to congratulate the people that got last week's correct. So I posted the riff to the song early on Discord. Explorer R and Rob O'Hara got it just from the riff. But the following people got the correct answer when the whole song was revealed. The whole song, of course, was Soul to Squeeze by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Want to congratulate David Z, TMX Online, and Packbilly for getting the correct answer there.
Well done.
Now, Aaron, this week's Patreon song is getting ready to be launched. If you know it, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com. Please, if you're watching live, don't announce it in the chat. Make it fun for everybody. Send me that email. If you know it, I will announce your name as a winner next week. All right, Aaron, let's hit it.
Here we go.
McChessers, Chris Edwards, Ramo K, David Terrace, Jude Carlos, Matthew Mobius, The Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, Christian Russo, David Zero, Joseph Zansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Super Family King, Crazy Loomis, William Vincencar, Heavy Systems Inc., Bundy Fraglord, Mark Ballin, Olaf Hope Hermsky, Jonah a.k.a. Simulant, Alien Breeder, David Velociraptor, Cowbird Boy, Lane Denson, Luke Hudson, Luke John Cook, Bomb the Bass, Frodo and L, Soul Incisor, Techmate Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Solar Club Reflection, Simon Ledge, Captain Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, Gary Heather, Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-Minute Amiga Retrocast, Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyler, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zobarbid, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Leif Kellon, Alan Kebab, Checote, Level Lord John, Marshall Mew, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy, Viggy T, CTZ, The Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgon Mortensen, Edvin Helen Blender 75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vapke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hager, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nat, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy Humbertstein, Daniel Pinkston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Wones, Pixels at Dawn, Kjolbjorn Barman.
Wow. That was hideous, Boat, as
Happy
usual.
4th of July, everybody.
No. You've ruined the country. Thank you. God.
All right. So, Aaron, we got a couple slots still open in the Amigathon streaming segment, don't we?
Yes, we sure do. If you are interested in picking up one of the last remaining slots for that second 12 hours of Amigathon and raise a little bit of money, hey, good deed. Get your name out there. Stream along. Feel free to hop into the Discord for the Amigathon. There's a sign-up sheet right there. Have a look at what the hours are remaining and plop your name in there and take a shot, Bo. That's the way I look at it. Give it a shot, man.
All right. And, of course, we want to thank Blendo75 for choosing Cybercon 3 for suggestion to the Amigos Game Selection Committee. And, of course, the committee themselves for voting that in. Now, next week, Aaron, I am going to be on vacation, as the French say. So you and the Brent are going to be taking over Amigos.
Oh, man. Well, what game do we have next week? But maybe that'll make it better.
Well, it is going to make it better, Aaron, because this is a game that you chose. It is John and Aaron pick week on Amigos. And this week, the committee selected your game, Fly Harder.
I don't remember it. So, but I'm sure it's great. Hey, look, well, if I picked it, maybe Brent will like it. And if he doesn't, I'm going to really get killed. So that might be something for somebody to enjoy.
There you go. And, of course, we want to thank all of you for coming out to watch us live in the chat. Let's see who we've got real quick. We've got our moderator, Duncan Styles, here with us. Thank you for wielding the band hammer, Dunk. 3D Code Warrior, 48K RAM, Amiga Cami, Amiga Live, Atten, Awkward Aardvark, Barkbit, Bitstorm, Brock 101, Commander Root, Dave's Donuts, Datadog UK, Dave Velociraptor, Demo Scene Net TV, Discord for Streamers, Dude Topaz 1, Edvin, Helen from the Man Cave, Frodo NL, Gary Hucker, Hamo 1, Jason Warrens, Casserin, L. Curtis Boyle, All Hail, Mitsuyama, Miss Linty, Octams, Oil of Hope, Picard 2010, Pi Gravity, Real Reffy, Ricky DeRocher, Rob O'Hara, Schmo Schwarf, Tom Thomas, Twilight Zoner, V&K Bigelow Pros, Worlds of Rogue, Explore R, and Z9K9. Thank you so much for joining us live here on the show. Guys, we will see you. No, we won't. Aaron and the Brent will see you next week for Aaron's game Fly Harder. Until then, adios.